We've got some
Hey, I'm Luis.
And
I'm Luis.
And you're listening to the Content is Profit podcast.
And we spent the last 4 years learning the strategies and techniques from some of the top marketers in the world on how to create content that turns into profit.
If you'd like to learn how to turn that content into profit, just go to contentisprofit.com. Your first step is right there for you.
Oh yeah, and today we have an incredible episode. We just watched, actually a few days ago,
Yes.
Friends, the reunion.
Ask FONZI how much he cried.
Yeah, it was absolutely amazing. But guess what? We always have to watch it with those learning glasses on.
Oh, yeah.
And today we're going to share the 6 content and business lessons that we learned from watching Friends, the reunion.
Oh, this is going to be so exciting.
Yes.
Also, FONZI, I got a question for you.
Oh, what is it?
Who won in tennis last night?
Yes. For those wondering, I let my brother win once in a while. So he wants to play again. Ben, what it's up, man?
Welcome,
It's so nice
Des.
to see you again over here.
But yeah, the real question is, FONZI, do we have a sponsor today?
Indeed, we do. Thank you for asking.
You're welcome.
And today's sponsor is your own, the BIZBROS with Content Momentum. And you might be asking yourself, what is Content Momentum? Well, if you need a modern media team,
Let's
right?
go.
A plug-and-play team
Yes.
that comes and help you leverage the long-form piece of content that you are creating, that you're putting so much effort into, then we want to help you out. We want to help you turn that content into profit. So
baby.
slide in the DMs at BIZBROS Co. on Facebook, on Instagram.
Yes, that's right. And if you love the show, go ahead and subscribe. Follow the show in your favorite platform. We're Apple Podcasts, Google, Spotify, literally everywhere. Go ahead and follow and support the show because every Tuesday, Thursdays, and Saturdays, the audio is dropping with incredible value
Yes.
and action points. And please don't forget to follow us on social media at BIZBROS Co.
That is right. And if you find today's episode impactful, if you want somebody else to learn the 6 lessons
Yes.
that we learned from watching Friends, the reunion, please don't forget to share this episode with them and leave a 5-star review. Let's get this party started now.
Let's go. Okay, so I want to say, like, do you remember your first Friends episode? Like, do you remember when you watched your first Friend episode?
Honestly, I don't remember when I watched my first Friend episode, but I've seen Friends
Who got you into it?
so many times. Who got me into it? I don't know. I feel like I've started watching it back in Venezuela. There was they were just playing it all the time. It has been on for the for the longest
years.
time.
I know.
And I remember it's one of those shows that you just hide in the background. It doesn't matter really if you tune in on episode 5 of season 1 or episode 14 of season 7. You
Yeah.
can always get the hang of the story and have a good laugh.
I know. And same thing, that was the show that I always had in the background. It was like that feel good, right? Like when we talk about content umami, right? For your content, what
Absolutely.
you're creating makes you feel good. This is the show that makes me feel good when I disconnect and go there. And I recently binge watched all 10 seasons. And literally I finished the last episode right before the reunion. Not calculated at all. That reunion episode was full surprise, but I really loved it, right? And when we had the conversation the day after, right, you were like, man, I wrote down all these lessons, and I'm like, oh, that's so cool. I was like literally watching it with fan eyes when FONZI was watching it with like the marketer eyes, right?
Well, I was watching it with fan eyes too. My heart was beating a little faster. Maybe one tear or two were shed as well. But yeah, definitely, I thought they had some really incredible and valuable business lessons inside of that. What was it? Hour and a half special?
Yeah, I think it's almost 2 hours, and I was so excited. I made my popcorn and watched it, and other than crying, I think what FONZI is wrote in there, and we kind of discussed a little bit, the other day on the car. I'm like, man, this is gonna be so cool. So why don't you share with us the first lesson?
Let's get this party started.
Let's go.
Again, as we mentioned today, we are hashtag fast and furiousing. Is the verb for fast and furious?
That should be another show that we create.
That's
Fast and Furious.
a new hashtag we are trying to adopt over here. But lesson number 1, hire the right people.
Ooh.
I mean, I don't want to spoil the Friends, the reunion. If you haven't watched it, well, finish this episode. You're going to get a few spoils maybe, but then go and watch the full
Spoiler
thing
alert.
so we can relate. But first thing that resonated with me was how they hired these
Yes.
people, right? Like you
The
see
cast, right? The cast.
Yeah, the cast.
The actors,
exactly.
not the producer, not like the camera.
I mean, I'm guessing-
the cast itself. I mean, they talk specifically with the cast.
I'm guessing the whole team, they went through a very important, process of hiring everybody, but they talk specifically about the cast. And that is something that you don't really think about. How much time it went into finding the right person to play that role,
Yes.
right? I mean, I think for Rachel, just herself, was like 3 months or like 6 months, was it? That one of them had like a span of months where a lot of people, hundreds of people, was just casting, and nobody was the right person for the role.
The producers were coming in, and even though they were on a timeline and they were like, we got to start this show, right? They were like, no, that person is not the right Rachel. She's not the right Rachel.
Yeah.
She's not the right Rachel. And that's when they found Jennifer. And she was actually on a different show, right?
Yeah.
Running. And I think they recorded the pilot and something else. And if some network would have grabbed that show, they would have lost Jennifer forever. And then obviously, I'm not going to share what happens that Jennifer does.
There's another business
There's
lesson
another
in
business
there.
lesson there. But I thought it was pretty interesting, right? On how they first casted David, which he does Ross, right?
Yep.
And they actually convinced him, like he was about to like drop TV. He doesn't want to do it anymore. And then it was this long process to find the right person for each character.
For each one, yeah.
And I think that was obviously one of the big reasons of why the show was so successful. So when you look at your
Absolutely.
business, right? Like sometimes we're in this hurry of trying to find that one person, but just make sure you look inside of your processes or your things, like who is that right person that's going to grow, right?
Yeah.
Like the bus, like the bus might go in different directions, is who's willing to jump on that bus right with you.
Yep.
It doesn't matter what the situation is in the business, right? They're
Yep.
gonna work hard and be proactive and do a bunch of
Yeah,
stuff.
so in the words of Jim Collins, right, who wrote Good to Great, he says you gotta find the right people and put them in the right seats, right? And this is what it's all about: finding the right people and putting them in the right seats. How does it look for in content, right? When we talk about publishing pyramid, once we get to the very top that we're trying to scale and resources, well, let's find the right person to put in the right seats. Do we need a editor that is a number 10, or do we need somebody that is a number 6 across the board that can do multiple things, right? Those are questions that we need to ask yourself.
Yeah.
And I'm sure those are similar questions that the producers asked when they were trying to hire the cast of Friends.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you want to know more, feel free to reach out. This is one of the topics that we talk about in one of our workshops. So happy to
In depth, not in death.
I mean, for you, it's that. Wow, Fonzie, who won the tennis yesterday?
So dark.
Who
all
won
of
the
a
tennis
sudden.
yesterday? I'm gonna remind you every time you say something like
I
that.
know, I
All
can
right, lesson
tell.
number 2, Fonzie. Lesson
number 2. Live feedback. Listen to your audience. Wow, this blew my mind. So these guys, first, they have a whole, set of writers on set while they're recording the show. Now, as you guys know, Friends was recorded live with an audience. And when the cast would say a joke, the audience immediately will give you live feedback if it was good or not.
Yeah.
And guess what? When it was not a good joke, the writers would like huddle up and write new jokes.
Rewrite it, yeah.
Rewrite it right there on set. And then the cast from Friends would learn the joke and redo the scene. And now again, see the feedback, listen to the feedback from the audience, whether it was funny or not.
Yeah.
Guess what? That translates same exact thing to content, right?
I have another example before you go into the
before
content
we
side
go
of things.
into the reflection side of
so
things.
So there's a part in the show where they're in London and Chandler and Monica, right, are in the same bed together, but at the first, like the scene, you don't see that Monica is actually inside of, like in the bed under the covers, right? And then she comes out, and the reaction of the audience was so massive. The live audience, they were so excited. It was cheering all over the place. The cheer like lasted for like minutes, they said, like in the live set, right? The producers looked at each other and were like, wow, there's something here that the audience wants this relationship to be developed.
Yep.
And long story short, they developed that relationship and they end up married. So again, listen to your audience. And the producers were saying, we honestly put that in there.
It was just like a fling.
Just like a fling.
Yeah.
We didn't think much of it, but the audience reacted so well that we decided to run with it. And that was probably one of the best stories in the storyline of Friends.
Yeah, that surprised me too, actually. I thought that was always meant to be that way.
Yeah.
And when the guy said it, like, oh no, it was just meant to be like a fling, and with the reaction of the people, they were convinced this is something that we need to explore.
Yeah.
It's the same thing when it comes to honestly your business and your content, right? You put content on there, you test it, see what works, and then guess what? Do more of it. And with your business, you have conversations with people to check what are their problems, right? Do I have the solution, the right solution to their problems?
Yeah.
And then you can adapt from there. So again, listen to the audience, the people you're serving.
I want to add a little topping to that.
A little pizzazz.
A little pizzazz. When FONZI said, listen to what works, is also what works for you. We see a lot of people that come into our challenges, that come into the workshop, that they've tried so many things on publishing, but they cannot stay consistent. And it's because they haven't found the thing that works for them. So there's incredible YouTubers that stick to YouTube. There's incredible people in the podcast that stick to podcasts. There's incredible people that stick to live shows, right? For example, we do the live show because that is the one thing that we really enjoy doing, right? And we stuck with it, right? We've tried so many things. So remember, try to find that thing that works for you. And then within that one thing, start testing, messaging, different things, different offers, and so on.
Absolutely. So lesson number 3, and this one is a little bit more abstract, right? But it doesn't matter your experience or expertise. It will always be hard or difficult, right? And I put this because at a moment in Friends Reunion, Chandler, right, or his real name, Matthew Perry, he starts talking about how it didn't matter if he said a joke and it didn't resonate. Whether it was in season 1 or like season 10, he said if the joke didn't resonate with the crowd, the live audience, I would get nervous and start sweating, right? Somebody with such an experience and expertise, he would get so nervous, right? Like it would still be difficult for him. So I started thinking, wow, that happens to me in the podcast. Sometimes at moments I say something, and if I believe it is not the most, smartest thing, like I just did right now, the most smartest.
If it's
not the smartest thing to say, I start getting sweaty a little bit, right? And I'm like getting nervous, even after doing 180 episodes, right? And it just blew my mind because guess what? That same day I actually saw a tweet where it was, you pick your hard, right? Which means life is hard no matter what decision you go, right? If you decide to don't act on your dreams, guess what? Life is going to be hard when you are sad laying on the couch because you didn't achieve your dreams. But if you decide to act on your dreams, life is going to be hard because the journey, it is actually hard of accomplishing those dreams. So no matter where you go, it is always going to be hard. It's a matter of your own decision.
Yeah, and go ahead and accept that, right? That's going to be hard because there's a lot of people out there that are selling the easy path, and there's no easy path, I promise you.
Yeah.
It's all hard work, so you might as well be enjoying that hard work, right? Choose your heart. By the way, if you hear some noises, we have the husky here in the studio today.
Yeah, we have Atlas.
We have Atlas. He's been stretching and walking around, so yeah, that's the dog. If you want pictures, send us a DM. We'll send good pictures.
He's sneezing like crazy.
But obviously I related to that big time too with imposter syndrome, right? And different things, and we all live it at different stages in our business. But it's very important to look back and see the achievements that you have made, not only in publishing. It's like, okay, I went from 0 to 180 episodes, for example, right? Look back and look at your publishing. What have you done? Keep tabs. Right now we're like deploying this system with our team where it's like a weekly, like 90-minute meeting and then daily meetings where we actually have and document all the do's of the team and what are we doing. And then we can look back at the quarter, be like, wow, look at all these incredible steps that we took, right? To see progress, because sometimes we're so in it that we don't see it, right? Same thing happened, a conversation a few months ago where we actually look back at the revenue from, 4 years ago compared to last year. It's been incredible growth, right? But because we're in the business, sometimes we don't see that. So remember, go back and see that progress, and it's gonna make you feel incredible and use that momentum to keep going. All right,
absolutely.
Lesson number 4, FONZI.
Hashtag fast and furious scene. We gotta go a little quicker here. Next lesson number 4: work in what you believe and enjoy. All right, and yes, this might seem a little woo-woo, and we've heard it out there. Guess what? There are going to be moments inside of your career or inside the business that you're trying to build that are not going to be fun. There are tasks that are not going to be fun. We still need to do them. But the overall picture, work on something that you're passionate about. Why do we say this? Because in Friends, the reunion, Rachel actually shares a story that what my brother was sharing before, that she was actually working for another show. She did like the first, was it like 3 episodes or even more? She was consistently recording as the same time that she was recording.
And she was the lead. She was the lead on that show.
And she was the lead on that show. And she was recording at the same moment the first couple of episodes with Friends. So she enjoyed working with Friends so much, and she enjoyed the cast, everybody, that she turned around and she went to the other show and she told the producer, "Hey, I just need to quit this. Please take me out of this because I just want to do Friends. I just want to do this show. I feel like this is my calling." And guess what? The other producer said, "Well, I don't think that I've seen that show. I don't think that show is gonna make you famous." Pretty funny, right?
Long story short,
but at the end of the day, exactly, she went with Friends, and look at what took off.
Yeah.
So again, follow what makes you, tingle, I guess.
Tingle? Wow. Okay.
What makes you tingle.
What makes you tingle. And if we relate it back to a little bit of our story, we when he was explaining that to me, I went straight to the screen printing, right? Like that was something that, we were selling stuff, we were building relationships, but the operation of the screen printing was a pain in the butt. Like it was so challenging, right? And we were not enjoying the process. And at the time, we didn't know better. We didn't know what we didn't know. We didn't know to hire somebody or that we could leverage other people, businesses, and then go and focus on sales. There's a lot of stuff that we learned along the way, but because we were enjoying the process, it made it so miserable. So look inside. Is it what you're doing today really fulfilling? Sweet. If the answer is yes, awesome. Continue. Double down. Look for help to use leverage in the things that you might not enjoy much, and make that decision, right? Because sometimes we don't make that decisions. We stick with it, and then a few years later we regret it, right? So go like look inside. Am I really enjoying what I'm doing today, right? Absolutely. And then assess that, like super honest, and make a decision, whatever that is.
Very important to be honest with yourself. That was a good one. Let's move on.
Lesson 5, Fonzie.
Lesson number 5.
Fine. What's happening with your English today?
I was going to say the word. I was reading the word that comes next. But it's lesson number 5.
Fine.
Find your crew or your environment, right? And we talk about this a lot, right? Especially, I feel like it's a topic that gets covered a lot in the entrepreneurial world. It is, you need to surround yourself with people that is going to lift you up, that is going to take you to the next level. You are the average of the 5 people you hang with. So again, this is so important. And actually, today came out an Instagram carousel, so go check it out on the BIZBROS page at BIZBROS Co.
If you're listening, it's like a week ago.
Exactly. If you're listening, it's like a week and a half ago. But it's about that, right? How do we, instead of how do we spend 10,000 hours trying to master something? How can we leverage the 10,000 hours of somebody else, of another crew, to learn? That is actually the real, I feel, shortcut to success. Right? It's not the hacks and the tactics. No, it's about surrounding yourself with the right company. And I want you to explain why this came as a lesson from watching the Friends, the reunion.
If I remember correctly, I remember like they were talking like between the 6 of them, right? And they were like, no one could relate to what we were going through, right? Like they went through like this crazy growth as a show. They went from unknowns to massive stars, like almost overnight, very fast, right? So, and they mentioned like, even though my family, right, even though my friends were understanding
and supportive,
they could not relate with the situation that they were living through, right? So, and what they found was in their group of 6, they were able to support each other and understand each other because they were all going through the same thing. So they became like inseparable, and they created this incredible bond because they were part of the same group of friends, like your crew, and so on. So often in the entrepreneurship world, like we think that we need to tackle this journey alone. We certainly were there, right? Like we've been very lucky because we're both brothers. Obviously, we know from each other, and we decided to tackle this together. But at the same time, there's times in the journey that we feel so alone. So the network aspect, the group aspect, the accountability aspect, the masterminds that we've been able to join solve that issue, because there's a lot of people that are going through the same thing. Even though, our families, our friends, our husbands and wives like understand
Our husbands and wives.
Yeah, I'm talking to everybody.
Oh, true. I thought you were looking at me when you said husbands. Nothing wrong. But,
Yeah,
you're not like,
not a thing, not a thing. Anyways, but even though they can be understanding, right, they cannot relate because they're not going through what we're doing every single day. So go ahead and find your crew. And by the way, speaking of crews, we have an incredible Continuous Profit family and Facebook group and community that are going through what you're doing today, and we're all growing together. So come join us. You can just search
Content
is Profit community on Facebook and go join us there.
Yeah,
okay,
absolutely.
Lesson 6, Fonzie.
You're gonna have a blast. We promise. Now, lesson number 6, and you know what I just discovered?
We got 2 minutes.
You know what I just discovered? I discovered that there are 6 friends. And we have 6 lessons. Coincidence much? I don't know. But lesson number 6 is you never know who you will impact. And that was this was probably my favorite part from Friends, the reunion. They started showing the fans all over the world, right? People that I'm sure Ross, Monica, and I'm just naming them as the Friends characters, right? But I'm sure the cast had no idea they had such an impact on these people from Africa, people from South America, all over the world, and they were sharing how Friends, actually some of them, how the show kept them alive, right? Gave them a reason to live. Some how Friends was the trigger of their love life, right? How was a specific episode helped them plan the way they were going to get engaged. It was so cool to listen to the fans
and to
share,
see it.
To see it, like how they were being impacted by this show. And it's the same with your business, right? And we talk about it, the hourglass effect. Sometimes your message, what you put out there, your work can impact many people, not just the people that you're working one-on-one with.
Yeah, and we live in such a wonderful world where the options on modern media, you can put a piece of content out there, that of something that's happening, documenting a challenge that's going on how you crushed that challenge, right? And it's gonna live in the internet, and somebody's gonna find it. I promise you, right? And if we do our job right, the right person is gonna find it, and then you're gonna create this incredible experience for them. You're gonna help them, and that's gonna change and move the world forward. So again, we never know who we're going to impact with the live show. We've been blessed that this thing has been so fun, and we've met incredible people, not only in our community, but around the show, that have come to us and be like, guys, like I really enjoy you. You guys make me smile today. I learned something. One of those action points that you share at the end of every episode. Shout out. Go ahead and listen to all the episodes as well, please. And but that's the thing that we need to strive. So use it in your content. Use it in your interactions. You never know who you're going to impact. Share what you have. You know exactly what you do. You know who you help. You know exactly. Just we got to put it out there, right? So
that is right. So
I love it.
Those are the 6 lessons we learned from watching Friends, the reunion, right?
Yeah.
Now, as always, we're going to leave you with an action point. This is the action point for you. Next thing that you watched, right? Whether it is an educational piece or an entertaining piece of content, I want you to put on your learning glasses. And as you're watching, ask yourself, what am I learning here that I can apply to my business or that I can create a piece of content with, right? Just like the same way that we're doing right now. And I want you to obviously go ahead and publish it and go and tag us at BIZBROS Co on Facebook and on Instagram. That is going to be the action point for today.
Have a bonus action point.
Bonus action point.
Yeah, why don't you join us in the Continuous Profit Facebook group? I mean,
absolutely.
Yeah, it's incredible. We're actually relaunching it. By the time this episode goes out, it's already relaunched, and there's gonna be weekly trainings, some awesome guests, member stuff. Oh, it's gonna be so good.
It's gonna be absolutely amazing.
So come join us. Yep. Facebook group Continuous Profit is gonna be there. We're actually gonna, if you're watching this live, we're letting people in by the end of the week, beginning of next, and off we go to the races. Find your crew.
Right.
Find your crew.
That is right. We want to be part of that crew. We want to be part of your environment. We want to help you grow as well. So let's do this.
With that being said, guys, thank you so much for tuning into the Continuous Guys. Go ahead and follow the show on your favorite platform and on social media at BIZBROS Co.
That is right. And if you found today's 6 lessons impactful, please don't forget to share it and leave a 5-star review. Thank you.
Bye, guys.